Are you a homeowner in the Greater Toronto Area? Well, you're going to want to listen to this. The City of Toronto is implementing a new tax. Does it apply to you? Stay tuned to find out. Hey everyone, my name is Morgan Little. I'm a realtor here in the Greater Toronto Area who makes educational and entertaining videos like this to keep you informed of what's happening in the real estate market. This video is all about Toronto's vacant home tax and what you need to know about it. If at any time you have any questions about the vacant home tax or about your real estate journey in general, feel free to reach out and book a one-on-one call with myself by clicking my Calendly link in that description below. Till then, let's get into it. So let's go over the 5 things that you'll need to know about Toronto's new vacant home tax. Number 1, what is it? It's an annual tax that will be levied on vacant Toronto residences payable beginning January 2023. First off, I want to note one major thing is that all Toronto residential property owners must submit a declaration of their property's 2022 occupancy status by February 2nd, 2023, which means yes, it's coming into effect in January 2023, has to be paid February 2nd, 2023, but it's for paying the tax on a vacant home from 2022. So just remember that. Number 2, who does it affect? A property is considered vacant if it is not used as the principal residence by the owner or any permitted occupant, or if it was unoccupied for a total of 6 months or more during the previous calendar year. How do you go about declaring whether or not your home was vacant? Okay, here we are at the number 3 thing that you need to know about the Toronto vacant home tax. And what you're going to do is go to the toronto.ca website. I will have a link to it in the description below. This will bring you to the website here. And you can submit your declaration as well as read more about how it all works. And remember, the deadline is February 2nd, 2023. But one thing to note here is all Toronto residential property owners must submit a declaration of the property's 2022 occupancy status by February 2nd, 2023. So what that means is, yes, it's coming into effect here in 2023. But if you do have a vacant home, you will be paying tax on that home as its status in 2022. So just something to be aware of. To make the declaration, you're going to need your 21 digital assessment roll number and your customer number from your tax bill or property tax account statement. And remember this as well. If you do not declare, the city will automatically assume that your home is vacant and you will be charged accordingly. So here is your submit declaration button here. That's where you're going to start the real process. Additionally, here, a declaration is not required if the property does not contain a residential unit, for example, vacant land or a parking space or a condo locker, and a residential unit is comprised of one or more self-contained units, including a dedicated washroom and kitchen. So there's a lot more information that you can go through here on the website, and they also have a paper copy that you could submit if you aren't as tech savvy as you would like to be. More information here on how it works. And then we're going to head down here to mention the occupancy status descriptions. And there's 5 different ones. So occupied as a principal residence of the homeowner, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. The property is where you reside and conduct your daily affairs. So not subject to the vacant home tax. Second would be occupied as a principal residence of a permitted occupant. So that's a person who's authorized by a registered owner to use the residential property as their principal residence, not subject to the tax. Third is occupied as a tenanted property. So again, you have the authorization from the owner to be there. You're paying rent to do so and is not subject to the property tax. These are all pretty self-explanatory as they're not vacant. So vacant with an eligible exemption. And we'll go through the list of exemptions in the next example, but those don't fall under the category of being subject to the tax either. And the 5th one is vacant or deemed determined vacant, which property can be declared vacant by a homeowner through their declaration of occupancy status. A property will be deemed vacant if the owner fails to make a property status declaration, like I mentioned earlier. So this is the one that falls under being subject to the vacant home tax. And the 4th thing you're going to want to know about all of this are the exemptions. Do you fall under them? So the exemptions are death of a registered owner, where the property is vacant for 6 months or more in the previous year due to death of an owner. You need to provide a copy of the death certificate for the supporting documentation. Can be vacant due to repairs or renovations. The vacant property is undergoing repairs or renovations. all the following conditions have to be met. Occupation, normal use of the vacant property is prevented due to these. All necessary permits have been issued, and the chief building official is in the opinion that the repairs and renovations are actively affecting the vacancy or someone living in the property. So you would have to provide those documents. Third is a principal resident is in care. So that's if somebody's in the hospital or a long-term care facility. Again, documents would need to be supported. Transfer of legal ownership. So you purchased a property with a closing in the taxation year being declared, and that sale involved 100% transfer of interest in a property to an unrelated individual or corporation. So you'd have to provide the documentation of the land transfer deed in that scenario as well. Occupancy for a full-time employment. So if you have a property here that is required for employment purposes for at least 6 months of the taxation year, but you live somewhere else, then you fall under the exemptions there as well. Again, need to provide proof. And a court order. There's a court order in force which prohibits occupancy of the vacant property for at least 6 months of the taxation year. Copy of that court order needs to be provided. And those are your 6 exemptions. Okay, and last but not least here, probably the one you've been waiting for, number 5, how much is the tax? A vacant home tax is 1% of the current value assessment, which will be imposed on all Toronto residences. One thing to note here is it's not 1% of what your home is worth or what the value is or what it would sell for on the market. There can often be some confusion around this. On your tax bill, you'll find the current value assessment, CVA, which is generally quite a bit lower than the actual value of your home. And that is the number that the 1% of is based off of. And those are the basics of what you need to know, the top 5 things you need to know about Toronto's vacant home tax. I want to know from you, do you think this will have any impact on the availability and affordability of Toronto housing? That's all for now. Thank you for tuning in. Please reach out using the link below if you have any questions whatsoever, and I look forward to connecting. Ciao for now.